Welcome back to the Context Coaching Podcast. We're joined today by Mike Luevano, who is, let's call you the host and founder of Between the Shots show, which you're going to get into, but you also have a background in education, development work. You've worked at both the high school, the lower school, the university level. You've got an expansive toolbox, let's say, but thanks for jumping on today. It's going to be a little different than our normal pod.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm a big fan of the show and getting excited here to get to know you a little bit better through this and talk about everything we got going on.
Beautiful. Traditionally, when we're doing the coaching show, we start at the beginning and we go until where we are now in regards to our coaching journey. But we're going to do that same thing with you in regards to your life journey, right? Where do we start? Where are we now? What are the steps along the way? And then we'll get into kind of the theme of the day here, which is vulnerability, masculinity. How do we tackle things that generally get suppressed societally, especially as men in the athletic space? And so I'm looking forward to that conversation once you get us grounded here.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Thank you. I thought we were going to get into me coaching my daughter's 5-year-old team when she was little because we had a great record. But
That's later. That's after we get the other stuff figured out.
yeah, we'll get into that. Like I said, Mike Luevano, beginning a podcast here between shots, really just talking about life, all the conversations that happen between shots. So it's has a golf theme, golf format, but it's not a golf show. It's talking about parenthood, alien parents, health, everything in between, relationships, and it essentially just me being me. We filmed a couple episodes. So by the time this airs, when you get out, there should be at least one or two out there for people to get their hands on doing that. Going all the way back, grew up in San Jose till I was about 12. Parents got divorced, ended up out in Morgan Hill and Gilroy. I'm a proud graduate of Live Oak High School, Acorn, Mighty Nuts. Let's go. And I know you got that, you're in that region over there, so we could maybe get into some of the old league battles
I
back
am, and
there.
my wife is a Gilroy High alum, so there you go.
I say the pretty girls went to Gilroy, the smart guys went to Live Oak, and the pretty girls went to Gilroy. But as I say that, I'm gonna piss off a lot of my girlfriends that are from Live Oak. So
That's all right. They win everywhere, but my wife will appreciate the compliment.
we come from a very good area. Small town, like you said over there. Ended up at Gavilan Junior College for a little longer than I probably would have liked, and then ended up graduating from San Jose State with a degree in therapeutic recreation. During that time, I was played sports all through my career. My dad was a big athlete, smallest kid on my block growing up. Played everything seasonal, no travel teams, but played everything. In high school, I was a small guy, so I ended up going from basketball, football to and baseball to tennis and wrestling, which enjoyed. Then traveled for 20 years playing slow pitch softball. Didn't get paid to play, but everything was pretty much paid for. Got to travel a lot and had a real good time and through my 20s. And so good time, made a lot of relationships, a lot of friends, and just kept that going. But during that time, we were touching on it earlier, had the opportunity to work Rebecca Children's Services. It's a nonprofit based there in Gilroy. Started off 100 and probably 30 years ago now as an orphanage and has grown into a whole catalog of mental health things from adoption to wraparound services, family centers, culinary academies, and amazing programs still to this day. Now they're the leader in what they do in that area. They have a great CEO who's a good friend of mine and really has turned that around in the last 10 years. So they paid for my college when I was in my 20s, had my degree, like I said, in therapeutic recreation. I left, got into sports, got married, moved up to the Sacramento area, and then was able to come back and be the director of development for that same organization. And when I tell you I found a job that was me being me, I felt like I was always working and felt like I was never working because I lived in the town. I was doing the things that I liked, helping an organization that I cared about and really shaped me as an adult. I started there when I was 21, worked there till I was almost 30 years old as working with families and got a sneak peek in what it was going to be to be a dad. I learned about being consistent, about empowering kids and doing those things that I took a lot of those skills that I learned working there and adapted them to my parenthood and how I am as a friend, how I show up. Still to this day, the core of my best friends are people that I worked with from there. I had a very good experience there and grew up a little bit through there, raising these kids and working them. They lived there at the time, the kids did in that role, and then ended up beginning a wraparound program and getting to work with kids in the community. So it's a great thing, felt good. And now I did that into some other nonprofit work. I ran a pediatric cancer organization for a while. I was the executive director for Leadership Gilroy for a few years. And from there, I moved up here to the Rockland area and became the partnership director for Sac State Athletics, and now have an opportunity here working with the District of Charter Schools here at Gateway Community Charters, which I could go on and on about an amazing program. And you really don't get the full grasp of everything they're doing and cutting edge until you get your hands on it. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Love that. Thank you for that background. Can you do me a favor? And I
Yes.
mentioned that I had just got back from a board meeting this morning where we are working to raise a sustainability fund because most nonprofits are shoestring operations at the grassroots level and they're trying to make payroll and whatnot. But it's okay. Let's have our development committee talk about the process of doing X, Y, and Z. But can you give a kind of a background snapshot of number one, what that word development even means, especially in the public school world for our listeners? They don't have a clue for the most part, but private schools do to a certain degree. But what is development? Why is that so important to the majority of these nonprofits and NGOs and these places where you aren't getting public funding? Talk a little bit about that, what that looks like at all levels, at your charter school level, at your the Rebecca Children's Services level to the Sac State level, and how different it
Yeah.
can be, but also thematically what you're trying to do in that space.
Yeah, and I'm glad you framed it that way, just because it is it's development. You can't just come in and put together a one sheet and hey, we need a gold sponsor, we need this, and expect people to jump on board. Like it's relationships, it's investing in other organizations. If I'm at one nonprofit, I don't look at things in the community as competition. It's if you really care about what you're doing, the organization you're with, and the community you're doing it in, if you're expecting people to help, you got to give. You have to be involved in that way. And sure, you know what? Not everybody has that kind of time. We're parents, we're career people, we coach, we do all these things that sometimes it's just easy to give, and that's okay. But if you're the development director, you're really trying to come up with a strategy, you have to build those relationships. You have to speak from here. And I've left a few jobs and opportunities for because I didn't believe in what I was out telling about. And I would say if you put a poll out there, if you talk to people that we have mutual friends are out there, people believe and help me personally because they know if I'm doing something that I believe in it and I care about it. I'm not just trying to get a quick buck. I would rather grow it. And I don't look at things as sponsorships. I look at them as partnerships because I want it to grow and have those feels of what you're doing. If you own an organization, I'm asking you because I think you align with my belief and what we're doing and our mission. I want to find a way what that works together. That might be you might just be joining us because you want opportunities for your players to come get involved and have an opportunity to give back. You might want your logo as the title sponsor. You might want tickets because I put on the best kick-ass concerts for fundraisers and you want backstage and access. But it really is doing that. And I'll say something that Clink talks about, and I've heard some other people on there, is defining roles, having people use their networks. And some people are not the forward-facing community people like you and I. Here we are, comfortable to talk, be vulnerable, and really speak from here. But some people are better at shooting emails, designing a website, getting access out there, money, bookkeeping, whatever it is, they're good at that, rallying the kids. So I think getting the right people that want to be around you and investing in them as well, empowering them, delegating, but transparency in any nonprofit, any raise money, people always think there's always some things about, oh, they're hiding money or they're sneaking, they're doing these things. Being fully transparent and being able to flex when you need to, but staying true. Don't go too fast, too much too fast. Really build a cool core network. If that's a new event, build it the right way. Don't be focused on the number of people. Get the right people involved. And it's anything. And it goes back to everything I hear you talk about, Clink, Gus, all the people you've had on here. It's getting the right people in the right spots and really believing in what you're doing and building that culture.
So if you think about it from the standpoint of you are Chico State Athletics when Greg was there, right? Or you were just at Sac State, or Gus now at Riverside, or me here, or Eddie at Vanden now. It's like ultimately, okay, the traditional, especially public facing high school type fundraising activities, we're going to go sell fireworks, we're going to run a snack bar, we're going to do these other things. Where are some areas that they're not seeing, where there is low hanging fruit based on who they are and the relationships they can invest in that's going to return a greater investment than that week long sitting in the parking lot. One of the things I said when I was back in Sacramento was like, look, I'm not going to go sit in the parking lot and sell fireworks. I'm going to go make some corporate sponsorships and get a check. And ultimately, that time spent developing that support network is far going to outgrow that time I put in a parking lot. Can you talk a little bit about that before we
Absolutely.
dive into between the shots? Because I just feel like this is an area where you are uniquely positioned to give some advice and some wisdom that the
Yep.
rest of us in my space don't have.
Yeah, again, what you were saying, it's the relationships, right? You're selling fireworks, it's a transaction. You're doing something else and getting those partnerships. I would say the low-hanging fruit are people that you're already doing business with as a school, as clubs. For example, you have food service, people that are bringing your food, people that are supplying your uniforms, the cleaning companies, any of those things, the buses, the busing transportation, people that are taking your kids far away, they want your business, but they need to give back too. And so you want to align with people that are going to align with you. I'm not saying for you to go out and get Buffalo Wild Wings as a sponsor, get the uniform company that you're doing, or like a school's first credit union. Like they want access and to your teachers, to your people. They're willing to give in to those people. They get it. I work with that organization on a couple different levels, and they're just good people. They believe in that kind of thing, and they want to give to those people because there's something also in it for them to access. And so I would go that way. I think some of the low hanging fruit, man, is utilizing some of your kids that are looking to get in media or athletes. I think with the NIL, the way it's going and things like that, teaching these kids how to use these things to help themselves, but to help the program as a whole, getting them on their TikToks, advertising for those. But it's your local people, the places that you're shopping at, the pizza place that you take your kids to after a game to celebrate. It's people like that will get involved and get invested in parents own companies. It's those, but it really takes having those conversations, being passionate about what you're doing, and being specific of what you're asking for, not just, hey, give money for this, put something to it. Hey, every $50 you donate helps us, that allows two kids to play football that don't have the funds and creating that way. But at the end, you have to show that money's going to exactly where you're saying. You can't raise $5,000 over here and then all of a sudden, hey, we want to paint the logo over here with this and use it for that. It really needs to come from there. But if you do it right, you're passionate, you're intentional, and again, I think transparent, those three things really kind of come. It feels good. And you want people to feel good about where they give.
No doubt. Thank you for that. And I think it's, again, a lot of times you're just rolling out the same kind of ideas. And at the end of the day, any new concepts that people haven't thought about are always helpful. All right. So as we dive into this between shots, tell the story here, right? You were talking about you're on the first tee the other day, and before you even got to the green, the waterworks were rolling. But what prompted this idea, right? Why is this space that when if you and I sit down and reflect, we know it doesn't exist, but I don't think there's a whole lot of people trying to create it. I was part of a group with a friend of mine, Jason Wells, that we met every Sunday for about 3 years, a group of us, and it was super powerful, and I miss doing it. But this is a different spin on that. You're creating some conversations that people can listen to. Talk a little bit about how this came about.
Yeah, thank you. It's as I've gotten older and conversations evolve from being in your 20s with your buddies to beers and girls and the Raiders and going out last night. It's about ailing parents and parenthood and health and things that we go through as adults. And I consider myself vulnerable. I've been through, you name it, child of divorce. I've been divorced. I have kids that I'm raising between homes. My daughter's off to college now. She's up at Chico State freshman. My younger one's 10, playing sports and doing that. And I've been fortunate to have a really great circle of friends for 30 plus years. We don't live by each other, but we talk often, we text, and when we see each other, it's family. It really is. And we could get into my family story at some other point, maybe when you're on my show and we're talking and we have a few hours to golf and talk. But the theme of the show, I love playing golf and I love the conversation. And as I've gotten older, I've realized I'm more intentional with my time. Time is my money. I don't want to waste it just doing dumb things. I like one-on-one things. I like doing this. I like learning about people. I love sharing my story. And I was going to start a podcast a while back about leadership and do some things that I was working on and just kept putting on the shelf. There was just always something sitting there that just wasn't full on because you're doing this. It's easy to come up with a couple shows, but to continually do it and share it, it has to be something you're passionate about and that you see a future with, at least for me. So a few months ago, a friend of mine called to go play some golf and went out and we got there. And he's not a guy that shares, opens up. He's just meat and potatoes, just, oh yeah, good, good. Typical, stereotypical dude stuff. And just, we weren't even on the second green yet and just started coming out. Finances, marriage, relationship, you name it. And so much that I was just sitting there, I was just listening. It wasn't even where I've given some advice. And so we're there and driving home, reflecting on what was going on and thinking about some conversations I had with some other friends just about life and things friends are going through at the current time, myself included. And not all bad things, but just life, right? And I realized he couldn't call me and say, hey, I need to talk. He needed, let's go golf and then talk. And it reminded me of something that a marriage and family teacher said at Gavilan. Mr. George Hen out there at Gavilan talked about, gave an example of his kids when they got older. Bath time used to be the time when they were little. And then as they got older, they wanted to talk. And it was, Dad, can we go in the hot tub? And he knew when his kids said, if we're going to get in the hot tub, that there was something that they needed to talk about. And so I'm driving, I'm reflecting on this, and I was like, man, it wasn't about golf today. It was all the things that just, it's all the things that happened between shots. And I was like, that's it. I wasn't looking for a show. I wasn't looking like for a new way to go. It hit me in that split second of this is what it's about. It's about life. It's about these conversations that we're having now. And even the tagline of life's best moments happen between shots. All of that happened within a 45-second moment of me driving it. And when I say I could see it, like I visioned the whole thing, how I wanted the intro, the conversations, the to be half just portion. Like it's not a golf show. I golf with every guest. We're mic'd up. We got a GoPro in the cart. I've got a camera videographer guy that is following us around. And we're taking those moments and we have conversations. But the meat of it is on a Zoom call like this that we have following days that will talk about things we talked about on the course or get to some things that we didn't. But if you and I are golfing and we're talking about our dads and whatnot, we have the conversation. We edit that into the YouTube portion of it of, hey, Justin, on this hole, we were talking about our dads and we'll show the clip and then we get right back into it and we can elaborate on it or just touch or move on. But I'll tell you, I have 3 episodes we filmed already. Every single one has been powerful. Tears, choked up, also a lot of laughs, but it's everything I envisioned it to be. It's real life. And I think it's going to resonate. And I'll tell a quick story here. I was filming out last Sunday up here at Granite Bay Country Club with a young lady who lost her father a couple years ago. He was a member at the country club. He died tragically a few years ago, but she held her baby shower there years ago, birthdays, Easters, brunches. She hadn't been back, right? We filmed at Granite Bay Country Club and we're talking. We're only on hole 6. And one of the guys that was with us is a friend of mine. He's a member and he's not in the show. He's just off to the side. And we're getting to the part about talking about her dad and how people think they understand and they say, hey, oh, I understand, I get it. And she's like, but you don't. Like everybody's story is different, this and that. And very vulnerable moment. And he came and butted in, not butted in. He politely was like, hey, can I interrupt real quick? And it's like, yeah. And he came over and he lost his son during the pandemic, tragically, 16-year-old son. And he said, hey, I'm overhearing what you guys are talking about. And he started tearing up and I just backed off. I let them, they had a 5-10 minute moment of just talking and hugging and crying. And it was so powerful. And in that moment, I was thinking, this is what this show is about. I hope that this resonates with people that watch, that listen, that are a part of that. And it happened within 6 holes of somebody, just one person being there. And it made me feel like, you know what, it's real. This is what's happening. And so if somebody, one person can hear somebody share a story and feel it and hear it and maybe they get help. Maybe they feel validated. Okay, hey, I'm not the only one. It's those, but also I had Jeff Garcia on the other day. We were filming and Niner quarterback. I've known him for 25. We're laughing. We're having jokes about 22-year-old us having a good time and ripping and roaring. And now we're talking about co-parenting and divorce and parents getting older and things like that. So it's all of the stuff, Justin, that just that we deal with and as men not always talk about openly, but here we are. It's not a man-to-man show. It's not a celebrity show. It's a real people show. And my only intent with it, guest-wise, is people that are open, vulnerable to telling their story and they can tell it, the story. And you don't have to golf, man. We can go miniature golfing. We can go top golf. My last partner, she wasn't that great of a golfer. We had a good time and she had her dad's putter and it meant a lot using the putter and telling those stories of that. So it's fun. Got coaches. Greg Klink is going to be on an episode and it's been a fun start and everything I want. And like I said, the only thing that's exceeded is my producer and videographer, man. It's a real show. The camera work, the production, it's something pretty special that I think people are going to really enjoy, whether they know me or my guests or just in general.
I was going to mention that it sounds really labor intensive from a post production and a production standpoint in regards to combing through all of the material, right? Where I told you on this one, it's man, we just go long form. I hit record, I turn it off, I go edit a few things, and off we go. You got a full on task ahead of you. So, how are you managing that? We're going to be all over the place on this, right?
Yeah.
As a pop up production on this thing, right? How are you managing all those pieces in regards to not just presenting the best final product, but capturing the essence of everything you're trying to do as well and presenting it in a way that it is authentic to the conversation that was had?
I am the luckiest guy. Like I said earlier, I'm fortunate to have great friends, great acquaintances. The guy producing and my videographer's name is Miguel. I met him 15 years ago in Oakdale, California, playing golf. I used to play with my friend Vince in this member guest tournament. Got to meet his friend Jim, and Jim is Miguel's father-in-law. So Miguel was like 22, 23, maybe, young 20s when I met him. I'm 52, so I'm quite a bit older than Miguel. And we became friends, never hung out outside of the golf tournaments when I would go down there, but friends on social media, got to know him, the family, great people. I reached out to him 2 days after my thought of this because I see he always does a lot of golf content. That's what he does for a career is videography and producing. I thought he was only a photographer and videographer. So I reached out to him, invited him down to come golf with me, talk about what my only thought that I was going to have with him was help me make the intro, the beginning, like a little 30-second thing with maybe a drone and me walking down the course, how I envisioned it. And then for some tips, like, hey, how should I take this? And so I originally just thought I'm going to take a couple clips from my phone on the first hole and the last hole just to frame the conversation. Well, I was telling him what I was doing, where it was coming from. He's got a great story. Him and I are very similar. We've connected these last couple weeks through video, through being together during these emotional interviews and filmings. And man, it's just, I couldn't picture somebody else doing this with. He makes it easy. He's the president of the men's club, head of his golf club. So we've only filmed so far at country clubs. And so a lot of tedious people. And the way he does it, he understands me. He knows the space. It's like he's not there, but he's there. And it's amazing. So that level of it is going good. He's producing the whole thing for me, Justin. Like, he believes in it, right? And I said, I can't afford this. Where does this go with you? And he's like, Mike, I believe in this show so much that I don't think you're going to have to get out and get partners. I think people are going to want to come to you and be with this. And like we said, I'm in that business of partnerships and those things. I have a vision of what that could look like as far as brand alignment and things that I wear. I've been fortunate that a couple brands at this point have fitted me out and things, but I'm waiting until I have the actual product for people to see. And I want them to feel good about it and be like, you know what? We like this. This isn't a golf show. This is a lifestyle show. This is something that we want to be a part of. That's what I want. And only if it aligns. I'm not looking to get some random thing over here because it pays a little bit of money. I want it to be right. And again, it's not about the money. It's about this is just a good platform. And something I forgot to say about it was not the reason, but something I realized soon is my daughters are going to have this, right? They only get to see dad when dad's with them and or a funny clip that we do or something like they're going to get to see how you and I are talking, how I talk about myself, how I talk about them. And I'm actually having a Father's Day episode with my girls. So we're going to get into that with them and let them have the mic for a little bit. But that's really what it is. I know I got sidetracked over here of talking from the original question, but it's been an amazing piece of it.
What you just said, I've never even thought about. And putting that in perspective, as you mentioned, our ailing parents. My dad is 80, what is he now? 83 coming up in June, and mom is 81, and we're moving that direction and thinking about things that I have to look back on. And I've got 300 plus episodes of this and probably a ton more when I get to that point for the kids to have in their vault. So I appreciate just even that consideration as you're on the front end of this because I would have never even thought of that. I want to go back to something you said about can we get in the hot tub, right? Or can we go golf? When you said that, it resonated with me directly because two things popped into my head immediately is when I was having a moment about 3 years ago of extreme frustration, I texted my colleague and a friend of mine. I was like, yo, meet me in the weight room. And it was very similar. Hey, we're going to go in here and we're going to work out. And I don't know what I'm probably just going to vent, but it wasn't about lifting as much as creating a space for us to talk. And you said something to the effect like guys specifically can't just ask somebody to talk for whatever reason. And I was also reflecting on a good friend of mine who texted me, oh man, last year about this time and was like, hey man, you got a sec? I need a friend. And it was like, yeah, absolutely. Drop whatever you're doing and you pick up the phone and you talk. So you do have both ends of that spectrum. Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think people, men in general, can't just ask somebody for help? What gets in the way of that?
And I think women too, obviously. It's a lot of people have trouble asking for help. I still do. I don't like getting help. I'm independent on those things, but I love to give it, right? And I think it's just the way we're wired. If you're asking me on that kind of a level, attachment styles, things like that, when you get into relationships. But I think it's a learned kind of deal. But until you open up and start wanting to improve, even at this age, like I said, I'm 52 years old, I'm still learning myself. I've learned some stuff about myself in the last year and a half that I'm like, God, nothing rocket science. Like, why didn't I connect these dots when I was 20? It's here, but it's just vulnerability. I think some people have being weak is, I can tell you specific in my friend circle, you got to have thick skin. We razz each other, we needle each other. I was raised that way. I've got a quick tongue, man. I've got a real quick tongue, and there's not much you can say to me that's really going to get me on you're short, you're bald, you're this. Like, I don't mind any of that. But if it's something about something that's here, that you might get to me that way. And I think that's where that comes from, right? You probably have no problem calling somebody and saying, hey, dude, I need help building this thing real quick. I need some muscle. Like the gym. You were comfortable asking for the gym, but some people aren't comfortable from the heart of, man, I'm really struggling right here, emotionally, mentally, in that part. That's a part that is just, I think, culturally, and I think our kids are getting better at doing that because I think we're probably more aware than my dad didn't talk about any of that stuff at all. I know my dad loves me, but he rarely said I love you until I was older. And even now, it's more of a joke. If he's not joking with me, something's wrong. But I think it's that vulnerability piece that people have. It's hard. It's really hard. But I think it's nice that I have hobbies. I have things that I do that I think create that space. And even in the leadership thing, we did an exercise where we had somebody bring something that meant something to them. It could be everything from a championship ring to, hey, this necklace reminds me of a relationship when I was abused. I was a victim of this and that. And people open up, and I always would say out loud, this is a safe space. Like, we're going to create a safe space here where we can be ourselves and be vulnerable. And as soon as you open up that way, people usually open up back, and it just creates this trust in people. You don't have to be best friends, but I know the people that I can call when I need to. And I hope that a lot of people know that they can call me. And I think I'm fortunate again to have that circle of friends. Like I said, same guys I'm joking around with are the same guys that we're talking vulnerable. And sometimes those vulnerable ones are more one-on-one than in the group setting. But we're to that age and that happens. And I try to provide the same thing with my daughters. I'm a divorced, and I got to be that space that for their mom and vice versa, of things. So it's just being there for people and being mindful that everybody is always going through something no matter what, everybody is. So you come in hot to work one day or somebody's go on. You never know what's going on at home in a relationship with yourself, with their health. And so just being mindful and putting that first.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, I was mentioning before we started recording that we've got like a men's group for some of our, not some, any of the high school boys here that want to come, and we meet every couple weeks, and it's part of one weekly for a long time. And where I framed this the other day with them was if I picked up the phone and called you and said, "Hey, man, I need some help," you probably drop what you're doing, and we don't have a deep relationship, but we have enough connections, and yet generally we don't want to do that. And if you call me, it's like, sure, meet where you want me to meet. I'll be there in a second. But it's like we understand that people will show up for us, or excuse me, that we'll show up for other people instantly. But like we don't, for some reason, want to make the ask. And some of the things that the kids brought up is we don't want to be a burden. We don't want to shine a light on ourselves. But it's like, look, we all have gaps that we need to fill. So, what are some of the things that you've figured out over the years to knock down that first peg and get out of the way of asking for help rather than just trying to compartmentalize everything?
Yeah, and I'm still not perfect at it, man. If you're gonna put me on a scale of a 1 to 10, I'm probably still at a 4, but I was at a negative. So I've gotten a lot better. I'm not perfect, but I feel like every day, and I feel like even this show, it's allowing me to like, all right, like, let's get out of here. If I'm gonna expect this of my guests and people, I got to be okay with it too. And I am. My circle knows that I'm vulnerable. Like I said, I would say, like I said, about the last year and a half, I was single for a long time, was in a relationship and heartbroken. I got heartbroken like you wouldn't believe. And it was finally being able to open up, look inside. What am I doing here? And you know what? It's not me. It's not this. It's just life and circumstances, timing, and all of those things. But confiding in friends and opening up and it got it out. Going to therapy. I go to therapy. I go once a week, once every other week. I do it on a Zoom. Have a great relationship with my therapist. And sometimes it's not always what's wrong. It's just talking about life, but it holds me accountable from not sulking or letting my mind make up some scenarios in my head of, oh God, of this. I think it's being healthy. I think as I've gotten older, alcohol, don't have a problem with it by any means, but if I have a couple of drinks on a long Super Bowl weekend like I would have in the past, that stays with me, not in a hangover, but in an anxiety way and just not myself. So I think being healthier overall allows for me to be healthier emotionally, be there for people, and the confidence and feeling good about who I am in my own skin. I've never had a confidence problem if you ask anybody, but it's just I feel like a good version of me. And I think it's the people that I surround myself with, how I spend my time, how I'm giving back, how I'm showing up for other people. All of those things combined, I think is what does it. And identifying what's wrong. You don't have to get better. I'm perfectly fine. I have a good life. If I just don't look at myself and try not to peel off this band-aid, but let's peel back that onion and let's get into it. My story with my mom is it was terrible. We didn't get along, had no relationship, and starting to get into that and realizing, no, I'm fine from none of that. Never had an effect on me. I'm aware of it. I'm a parent this way. I have my dad in this vault. And now, within the last 2 years, like, oh, yeah, duh. Of course, that's what you're doing, Mike, because that's what you know. And it's deep in there. It's wired. And so unwiring it and doing it. We don't operate on that same first flip phone that we had 20 years ago when we got those first phones. We got these new ones. They're always updating and got to stay with the times and keep being better versions of ourselves.
So, since you brought that up, right, in
You
that
still have a flip. If you still have a flip phone, I'm sorry.
no, but my tennis coach did till 2 years ago, which was awesome. No, it's more about the repeating patterns, right? And so my youngest kid's a sophomore in high school, and at our school there's a like an 11-day backpacking trip that they go on in the spring during that time, and they have a 36-hour solo, and you write these letters to them that they have them on the solo.
Love it.
And one of the things I was actually talking about in my letter was essentially how we're not taught to be vulnerable and that I'm working on it. And it's not something that I saw growing up. And so ultimately my parents were split up for most of my life. I lived with my mom and I moved in with my dad when I went to high school and like we lived in separate parts of the house. we cohabitated, but there wasn't a lot of, hey, let's sit down and debrief your day and do all of this stuff. And so it's like I'm 51 years old trying to figure out how to have relationship with my children who are two are grown and one's a sophomore in high school in regards to anything other than I show up and work hard and you guys see what that looks like. And that's a work in progress. And I think similarly to what you're saying is like, how do we have conversations, not around even difficult things, but just casually when that's not the paradigm that you're used to. So, talk a little bit about your growth there and what you're realizing as you frame this show out, because it's not like you can go interview everybody in the world, right? So, what's the impetus here to show people that there's these underlying things existing if you can just get in the right environment to have these conversations? So, I'm curious just kind of your thoughts on that and also how you're debriefing this for yourself.
Yeah. And again, I'm not looking for the sad, sappy story every time. I want to know the things that are here, and whether that's the funny stuff, the sad stuff. Like I said, I had Jeff Garcia on episode that will be coming out, and we didn't talk football at all, Justin. It was all of the other things. So if you're asking like what I look like as for a guest or how that comes about, is that what you're, sorry.
I was just asking in general, like how you're also reflecting on your own journey,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah.
in regards to how am I now trying to be different because all we do is roll out what we know, as you said, but also in that, the container you're creating is just a lens into there's areas that have dialogue that we're not having right now. And so, how
Right.
are you applying that yourself?
Yeah, so for me, I'm very reactive. I'm a high energy. I'm always going. If somebody says something, like I said, I'm quick-tongued. I want to go. I also don't like having people upset. I don't like uneasiness. And so I like to get out in front of that always. Where I'm trying to get better for myself personally is sitting in it, sitting in the uncomfortableness. And that's really hard for me to do, but I've realized don't fire off a text. Type it into notes. Sit on it. You know what? Give yourself a 24-hour rule. And I don't always do it. Like I said, I'm a 3 or a 4 right now. I'm not a 10, but I listen to other podcasts, self-help ones, relationship, stuff like yours. I love hearing how other people are going about life. And if you check out my LinkedIn or any of my socials, I learn a lot from my own kids. I ran a marathon last year. I hate running. I'm athletic. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I saw person I was dating running one, and she was a runner. I went and watched the CIM, and not just watching her, but everybody that's going through this, right? I was just inspired. Wow, if that person can do this, what am I doing over here? And gave myself 11 weeks, stuck to a plan. And my mantra when I ran every single time was get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And I ran in the rain. I was up at 4:30 in the morning and I ran up to 20 miles the 2 weeks before. Got started at 7. Thought my legs were going to fall off, but stuck to the plan. And I did it. Finished in 4:01. If I wouldn't have stopped and peed at the end, I would have beat 4. My original goal was to just finish without walking, but finish without walking. Beat Oprah was my third. And then as I got stronger, I was like, you know what, I might be able to do for a 4-hour pace. And I did it. I pretty much did it. And it wasn't finishing the race that did it for me. It was looking back, like, wow, I just committed myself for 11 weeks to something I don't even like doing. And it wasn't like I was out golfing and I'm going to hit the range for an hour and I'm going to get better. Like I did it. The amount that I've already taken from that in the last 11 months is priceless. And I've applied that to learning guitar. Now I'm playing guitar. I'm not amazing by any means, but it just takes consistency and working on it and setting some goals. And I tell that whole story about myself because my youngest daughter she plays soccer, comp soccer, and all of those things. And she's an old soul, man. And she started doing cross country in 4th grade. It's a mile, and she's good at setting goals. And I'll give her mom a lot of credit for that. Like she's very much in that focus and organized on those. And she gets the competitive side from me, but she plays soccer. She's a great athlete. You want her on your team. She's a good role player. Like she listens, she rule follower almost to a fault sometimes. She wanted to get better in the cross country. And each week she got better. And I said, hey, if you want to get to your goal, we're going to have to do this. So her and I started running together when days she didn't have soccer practice. And we signed up for a 5K and we did it, man. And we actually beat our time. Our goal was 10:35. We ended up at 9:28 miles. So we finished in 28 minutes, 27 minutes instead of 35 minutes. And reflecting on that, like she was able to pace herself. We did it. We did it together. So watching her set that goal and realizing, wow, like we could just now we're doing a 10K. We're going to do a 10K, the Shamrock. She wants to do a marathon. I'm like, hey, we're going to slow it down here a little bit. We're too young at 10 years old to do a full marathon, but she gets that to work, and to watch her see that pay off was it was amazing. And to be able to do it with her, right? We coach our kids, we watch our kids play, but to run next to her, do those, have the conversations while we're running. And during the trainings of them and running together, the time we had doing that, and we golf here and there too. I made a post the other day. She thinks we're just golfing, but it's all of the things that we're talking about, but also accomplishing that goal together. Just amazing. It's such a good feeling. So to see that all come about is what really it's all about.
I think the other avenue of that, right, is the car time that we have with kids driving to and from places, right? Because again, pinning them down to talk to you in the living room or somewhere else, right? You got to create these opportunities where there's a captive audience, be it.
Without the phone.
Yep. Yep. No doubt. And I think that's not just with your kids, but with anybody where you're trying to have some dedicated time. One of my other colleagues is funny. I was like, hey, we should go do something, hang out. We just go and sit together and watch TV. And it's okay. Like that's his version of having some sort of fellowship. And it's great, right? We all have whatever that looks like for us. But I think all of that to go back to the beginning of this space that you're creating, if nothing else, shines a light on how do you put yourself in a scenario where conversation might flow when it normally wouldn't. And I think that's the big takeaway I'm having here.
Yeah.
You mentioned like I'm going to have certain guests on, and obviously it's just this whole thing is predicated on you being able to have experience with people that you're close with. What is the vision for expanding this beyond that initial group, right? Beyond people that you already have comfort with, not just professionally, right? But that goes into your development work, but to also help people understand like how to network, how to build relationship from scratch, right? If you don't have one, right? Because that's something that in theory you are a pseudo expert in.
And I feel like it's naturally, like I said, it's me being me. I talk to people, even if I go eat by myself, I end up talking to the people next to me. So I inherently have that, which I'm blessed to have. I love being outgoing. I love hearing stories. Outside of the people I know, I think hearing other people's stories, I haven't even aired an episode, but from my talking about it, from building the brand on social media and posting and what's coming and some behind the scenes, the amount of people I've had reach out to me of, hey, this would be a great person, or the introductions of those, as well as even if I don't know you, like you and I, we're getting to know each other right now on this hour. But if you and I spend 4 hours together golfing and I don't know you at all, and we have a drink after and talking, you get to know people quite a bit in that space out there, just walking, excuse me, walking and talking and sharing. I love to share about myself. And if something I say resonates, even just it's happening now. I've said a few things and you're like, my kids group, my son, my dad, like all of those things. And it just happens organically. And one thing I'll never do is force something to happen. If it's a big name, just because it's a big name, I don't, that's not who I am. And I want it to be real. And if it's not something I feel is going to be real, then I don't want it. I've had somebody that it's been trying to coordinate filming and it's tough. And it's starting to make me feel like, okay, maybe this isn't the right time. Because great person, great story. Like I want them to be a guest, but also, hey, let's just wait and make sure it's the right time.
That was like me trying to pin you down and say, yeah,
I mean,
schedule. Hey, schedule. Hey, schedule. You figure it out.
but it's true. I had a lot going on there and stuff we could
Yep.
have talked about, but I think things happen for the right reasons. And
For
right
sure.
now, I'm in a space that this makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. And I'm not the same guest you have on here of an athletic director or a
Mhm.
coach. It's relevant, right? Fundraising, kids talking, being
Mhm.
open, it all makes sense. And I hope that when we get off of this, you're taking something like, you know what? Tomorrow morning, when I have this group of my kids or my players, I'm going to talk about this with them because you know what? I'm not perfect. I just want to reflect. I've been hard on you guys, but you know what? I was in your space one time and my coach was hard on us. And you know what? It sounded like Charlie Brown. Today, dude, hey, let's hug it out real quick and let's have a fun practice. Let's have some fun. Let's get back to why we're playing this and let's work hard and let's get out there and do that. I think there's always those resets that we can do. And sometimes it takes a conversation, a reflection of shit. I'm turning into my dad, man. I'm gonna hang up and I'm gonna call my son and I'm gonna give him a hug. I'm gonna tell him I love him. And it's those little things that we just sometimes just we get caught up in our day to day that we forget sometimes what the core of it is.
No, I think that's a great way to wrap this up. I'm actually going to grab one of my kids yesterday that we got into it a little bit in the game and get to the other side of that. As you mentioned, I was thinking about that earlier while we were already talking because I was waiting to see if they would drop by and they haven't, and it's almost noon. So I'm going to have to reach out and be like, hey, swing by so we can put this to bed and I can own my part of it. But ultimately, I think you're right. I think ultimately it's like, how do you have conversation? How do you build relationship? How do you maintain relationship? How do you take advantage of the things you're not always thinking about? And that's why these conversations are always good.
Yep.
Cool, man. Hey, I'm looking forward to the show dropping and seeing what Between Shots looks like post-produced. The concept is awesome, and I can't wait to see some of it.
For sure, man. I would love to have you guest. And there's a couple nice places out by your place, neck of the woods, to play some golf. So I'm sure we can make that happen at some point. But thank you so much, man. Like I said, I've been a big fan of this and getting to know you through there and through our mutual friends and what they have to say about you and having the mutual connections in the South Bay down there and the Central Coast. I just think it's good things, and I see good things for both of us coming. And I think using these platforms for the right reasons makes a big difference. So you've touched me on yours and inspired me to some things I like about what you're doing that I want to apply to mine. And hopefully you could take something I say or something on my show and be like, you know what, I like this, whether it's in your own life or for
Yep.
the for your platform. So
No
I
doubt. Say
appreciate
when,
it.
man. Let's book it and let's get down here and chase it around the park a little bit.
Sounds great, Justin. Have a great rest of the week, man.